Today, we're diving into the incredible story of Colonel Sanders. His journey is about way more than just fried chicken. This is a story about resilience and never giving up on your dreams. He faced a whole lot of setbacks along the way, but he never let those failures define him. He took his passion for cooking and hit the road. That's the kind of hustle that built an empire. Let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. Harlan Sanders, the man who would become the colonel, was born in 1890 in Henryville, Indiana. Picture it, small-town America, a time when life was a little slower, a little simpler. Young Harlan's childhood wasn't all sunshine and roses. Tragedy struck early when he lost his father at the tender age of 5. This left his mother to care for him and his siblings, and times were tough. Like many kids back then, Harlan had to step up and help out around the house. He took on chores, lending a hand wherever he could. But one chore in particular would spark a lifelong passion: cooking. Harlan discovered he had a knack for it, a real talent for whipping up delicious meals. By the age of 7, he was already a whiz in the kitchen, taking care of his younger siblings and putting food on the table. Little did he know, those early days in the kitchen were laying the foundation for something truly extraordinary. As Harlan grew older, formal education took a back seat to the need to earn a living. He left school after 7th grade and dove headfirst into the working world. He tried his hand at a bunch of different jobs, each one teaching him valuable lessons about hard work and perseverance. One of his first gigs was as a farmhand, toiling away in the fields. It was tough, back-breaking work, but it instilled in him a strong work ethic. He then landed a job as a streetcar conductor, keeping things moving in the bustling city. From there, he hopped on a train and headed south, taking on a physically demanding role as a fireman on the railroads. Can you imagine the heat, the sweat, the sheer physicality of that job? Through it all, Harlan never lost sight of his dreams. He had this drive, this ambition that kept him going, always searching for that one opportunity that would set him on the path to success. At 19, Harlan took a leap of faith and married his sweetheart, Josephine King. Starting a family brought on a whole new set of responsibilities, and Harlan was determined to provide for his wife and children. He landed a steady job as a lawyer, using his sharp wit and way with words to make a living. But fate had other plans. A heated argument in the courtroom led to a dramatic brawl, costing Harlan his law career. This setback could have easily derailed him, but Harlan refused to give up. He understood the importance of putting food on the table and providing for his family. So, he rolled up his sleeves and took on a series of odd jobs, always hustling, always striving to make ends meet. He sold insurance, operated a ferry boat, and even worked as a tire salesman. Harlan's time on the railroad ignited a fascination with travel. Eager for adventure, he set his sights on the open road. Working for Michelin, he crisscrossed the country selling tires. It was about connecting with people from all walks of life. Harlan had a knack for storytelling and natural charisma. He learned persuasion, the power of a handshake, and building relationships. The open road taught him resilience and adaptability. He noticed the demand for affordable, tasty food for travelers. The desire to be his own boss burned brightly within Harlan. He yearned for the freedom and independence that came with running his own business. So he took a leap of faith and opened a ferry boat service on the Ohio River. The construction of a nearby bridge made the ferry service obsolete. This setback fueled his determination to find a business that could truly thrive. Through it all, Harlan never lost sight of his passion for food. In 1930, at 40, Harlan's life took a significant turn. He moved to Corbin, Kentucky and took over a Shell oil service station. This was his chance to build a legacy. He transformed it into a popular stop for travelers. Harlan knew customer service was key. He began preparing meals for travelers, sparking a culinary revolution. Now, Harlan's service station wasn't your average pit stop. Sure, he pumped gas and checked the oil, but he also had this little dining area where he started cooking for travelers. He figured, folks driving long distances, they'd appreciate a good, home-cooked meal. Word got around about Harlan's cooking, and it wasn't long before his service station was known as much for its food as its fuel. He started with simple dishes, things like country ham, fried chicken, and mashed potatoes. Comfort food, the kind that sticks to your ribs and warms you from the inside out. Harlan had this philosophy about cooking. He believed in using fresh, high-quality ingredients and preparing them with care. He wasn't afraid to experiment in the kitchen, tweaking recipes until he achieved that perfect balance of flavor and texture. People would line up for a taste of Harlan's cooking, drawn in by the mouth-watering aromas and the promise of a satisfying meal. His service station became a community hub, a place where locals and travelers alike could gather, share stories, and enjoy a delicious home-cooked meal. Now, let's talk about the fried chicken. It wasn't just any fried chicken, folks. Harlan was on a mission to create the crispiest, juiciest, most flavorful fried chicken. He experimented with different cooking methods and seasonings. He kept his recipe a closely guarded secret, locking it away in a safe. Even without knowing the exact recipe, we can appreciate Harlan's genius. Word of Harlan's fried chicken spread like wildfire. People would drive for miles just to get a taste. His service station became a must-stop for anyone passing through Corbin, Kentucky. Harlan's fried chicken wasn't just food, it was an experience. He insisted on serving it piping hot, fresh out of the fryer. He wanted his customers to savor every bite. Presentation mattered, so he served his fried chicken on a platter with sides. It was a feast for the senses, a celebration of Southern hospitality. As the crowds grew, Harlan expanded his restaurant. He added more seating and hired additional staff. He even built a motel next door for travelers. Sanders Court and Cafe became a bona fide success story. But little did he know, this was just the beginning. By the mid-1950s, Harlan Sanders, or Colonel Sanders, was riding high. His Sanders Court and Cafe was thriving, a testament to his hard work. But a new interstate highway was being built, bypassing Corbin, Kentucky. His beloved restaurant faced an uncertain future. At 65, he chose to find a new path. He packed his bags, grabbed his pressure cooker, and hit the road. You might think with a product as good as Colonel Sanders' fried chicken, success would be easy. But the Colonel faced rejection on the road. He drove from town to town, knocking on doors, pitching his secret recipe. His white suit contrasted with the Formica countertops and faded vinyl booths. He'd cook a batch, let owners sample it, and charge a nickel per piece sold. Sounds like a good deal, right? But not everyone was sold. Some thought he was crazy, others were skeptical. Rejection piled up, but he never lost faith. He knew he had a winner and was determined to prove the doubters wrong. Despite the setbacks, Colonel Sanders' persistence started to pay off. One by one, restaurant owners gave his chicken a try and they were blown away. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. Soon, Colonel Sanders had restaurants all across the country clamoring to serve his fried chicken. He started franchising his concept, granting licenses to independent operators. This was a pivotal moment in the development of what would become KFC. Let's rewind to that Shell oil service station in Corbin, Kentucky. It was the birthplace of a culinary revolution. Colonel Sanders had a knack for hospitality. He started cooking simple dishes in a small dining area, home-style classics like country ham and fried chicken. Word got around and soon people lined up for his cooking. As the popularity of his food grew, Colonel Sanders saw an opportunity to expand his business. He added more dining space, hired additional staff, and even built a motel next door to accommodate travelers eager to sample his famous fried chicken. He called it Sanders Court and Cafe, and it quickly became a beloved roadside institution. Imagine pulling up to this charming establishment after a long day on the road. The aroma of fried chicken and gravy wafts through the air, inviting you in from the highway. Inside, you're greeted by the Colonel himself, a warm smile on his face. He seats you at a table and takes your order personally. The atmosphere is lively, filled with the chatter of families, truck drivers, and traveling salesmen. Sanders Court and Cafe wasn't just a place to eat, it was an experience. For over a decade, Sanders Court and Cafe thrived, becoming a beloved landmark. The Colonel had poured his heart and soul into building his business. But fate had other plans. In the mid-1950s, a new interstate highway was built. It bypassed Corbin, redirecting traffic away from the Colonel's restaurant. What was once a bustling thoroughfare was about to become a quiet back road. The Colonel watched as the highway took shape, his heart sinking. This new road threatened everything he had worked so hard to build. The steady stream of travelers was about to dry up. The Colonel faced his toughest challenge yet. His beloved Sanders Court and Cafe was in jeopardy. Would this be the end of the road for the Colonel and his dreams? Now, this setback with the highway, it would have been enough to make most folks hang up their aprons and call it a day. But not Colonel Sanders. He knew he had something special with his fried chicken, so he invested his savings into a new venture. a motel and restaurant in Asheville, North Carolina. He called it the Colonel Sanders Motel and Cafe. He poured his heart and soul into every detail. The Colonel Sanders Motel and Cafe was more than just a place to sleep and eat. It was an experience. The Colonel, always a charmer, greeted each guest personally, his warm smile putting everyone at ease. He regaled visitors with tales of his life, his voice filled with wisdom and a touch of southern drawl. The restaurant was always bustling, the air thick with the aroma of fried chicken. He personally supervised every aspect, ensuring each piece was cooked to perfection. For a while, it seemed like Colonel Sanders had done it again. His motel and restaurant were a hit, his fried chicken was in high demand. But this success was short-lived. Unforeseen circumstances conspired against the Colonel. Competition from larger chain restaurants cut into his profits. The Colonel's motel and restaurant began to struggle. The once bustling establishment took on an air of melancholy. It was a bitter pill to swallow. Now, Colonel Sanders wasn't just a savvy businessman. He was a true innovator in the kitchen. He understood that time was of the essence, especially when you're serving hungry travelers eager to get back on the road. He needed a way to cook his chicken quickly without sacrificing flavor or tenderness. That's when he turned to a somewhat unconventional cooking method at the time: pressure frying. He knew that pressure cookers could cook food faster by trapping steam and increasing the pressure inside the pot. But he wasn't content with just using any old pressure cooker. The Colonel experimented with different models, modifying them to achieve the perfect balance of pressure and cooking time. He wanted a pressure cooker that could produce crispy, juicy chicken in a fraction of the time it took to fry it traditionally. He tinkered with vents, adjusted pressures, and meticulously timed each batch, determined to find the sweet spot that would elevate his fried chicken from delicious to legendary. His tireless pursuit of pressure frying perfection was a testament to his ingenuity and his unwavering commitment to quality. Now, the pressure cooker was just one part of Colonel Sanders' culinary arsenal. The real magic, the secret weapon that set his fried chicken apart from all the rest, was his signature blend of 11 herbs and spices. To this day, the exact recipe remains a closely guarded secret, locked away in a vault, protected by state-of-the-art security systems. There are rumors, of course, whispers of ingredients like paprika, garlic powder, and white pepper, but the exact proportions and combinations are known only to a select few. Some say the Colonel entrusted his secret recipe to a single spice company, which blends the herbs and spices according to his exacting specifications. Others believe that multiple companies supply different parts of the recipe, ensuring that no single entity possesses the complete formula. Regardless of how it's done, one thing's for sure: that secret blend of 11 herbs and spices is the heart and soul of Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's the flavor that launched 1,000 restaurants, the taste that has captivated generations of fried chicken lovers. Colonel Sanders' innovation in cooking wasn't just about efficiency or secrecy, it was about creating a truly unique and unforgettable dining experience. He understood that people craved food that was not only delicious but also comforting and familiar. He knew that his pressure-fried chicken, seasoned with his secret blend of 11 herbs and spices, was something special. It was crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside, and bursting with flavor in every bite. But the Colonel's genius wasn't just in the recipe. It was in the way he presented his food. He knew that presentation mattered, that it could elevate a simple meal into a feast for the senses. That's why he insisted on serving his fried chicken in a distinctive bucket, a symbol of abundance and Southern hospitality. The bucket, often adorned with his smiling face, became an iconic symbol of the brand, instantly recognizable around the world. It wasn't just a container, it was a promise of a delicious and satisfying meal, a testament to the Colonel's vision of sharing his finger-licking good chicken with the world. Picture this: Colonel Sanders in his late 60s hitting the road with a dream and a bucket of fried chicken. The highway bypass dealt him a tough hand, but he wasn't about to let it define him. He packed his pressure cooker, secret herbs and spices, and white suit, setting off to share his chicken with the world. Crisscrossing the country in his old car, he aimed to turn his culinary passion into a phenomenon. He pulled up to roadside diners, mom-and-pop cafes and truck stops, places where folks knew good food. He'd walk in, a distinguished figure, and introduce himself as Colonel Sanders. Now the Colonel wasn't just selling fried chicken, he was selling himself. He had this natural charisma, this folksy charm, that drew people in. He was a master storyteller, spinning tales of his life on the road and his culinary experiments. He knew that people were more likely to buy from someone they liked and trusted. And Colonel Sanders was nothing if not genuine. He truly believed that his fried chicken was something special. He wanted to share that with the world. The year was 1952. Colonel Sanders, armed with his pressure cooker and secret recipe, spent years on the road, convincing restaurant owners to try his fried chicken. He struck deals with folks like Pete Harmon in Salt Lake City, Utah, the first official Kentucky Fried Chicken franchisee. That partnership marked the humble beginnings of a global phenomenon. The Colonel wasn't just building a restaurant chain, he was creating a legacy. From nickel royalties to global domination. Remember those nickel royalties the Colonel had negotiated? Those nickels started adding up. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. People couldn't get enough of Colonel Sanders' fried chicken. KFC restaurants began popping up across the country. He tapped into a craving for comfort food. The Colonel embraced his role as the face of KFC. He traveled tirelessly, spreading the gospel of his chicken. He became a cultural icon, instantly recognizable. He proved that with hard work, anything was possible. As KFC grew, so did the Colonel's fortune. Those nickel royalties transformed into a steady stream of income. They represented the realization of a lifelong dream. As Kentucky Fried Chicken expanded across the United States, Colonel Sanders found himself at a crossroads. In his 70s, his health was declining, and the demands of running a growing empire were taking their toll. He prided himself on his hands-on approach, but felt the weight of his responsibilities. To ensure KFC's success, he sold it in 1964 to investors led by John Y. Brown Jr. and Jack C. Massey. It was a bittersweet moment, but it allowed him to focus on what he loved most, being the Colonel. Even after selling the company, Colonel Sanders remained the face of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He traveled extensively, making appearances and starring in commercials. A tireless ambassador, he embodied quality, hospitality, and Southern charm. The Colonel wasn't always happy with new management's direction. He criticized changes to his recipes, famously calling their gravy wallpaper paste. His criticisms were passionate, not mean-spirited. He cared deeply about his creation and its legacy of quality, and live on it did. Kentucky Fried Chicken expanded, becoming a beloved global brand. The story of Colonel Sanders is more than just a recipe for fried chicken. It's about never giving up on your dreams, no matter how many roadblocks you encounter. He had this fire in his belly, this unwavering belief in himself and his product. So the next time you're facing a challenge, remember Colonel Sanders, and never, ever give up on your dream.